Blizzard has released a new blog post on its website discussing the recent beta testing for Diablo 4 and sharing some patch notes that will be implemented before the game's June 6th release date. While the patch notes do not provide specific numerical details, they give players a general idea of what changes to expect for some of the game's character classes. This indicates that Blizzard is actively working on fine-tuning and balancing the game based on feedback from the beta testing phase to ensure a polished and enjoyable gameplay experience for players when Diablo 4 is officially launched. Based on the information provided in Blizzard's blog post, it seems that the Necromancer class in Diablo 4 was considered overpowered during the beta testing phase. The ability of the Necromancer to revive dead skeletons to fight alongside them was reportedly too strong, leading to an imbalance in gameplay. In response to this feedback, Blizzard has mentioned that the dead minions of the Necromancer will now die more often, but specific numbers or changes to the skeletal head count have not been mentioned. The intention behind this adjustment is to make raising the dead minions a more active and involved aspect of playing the Necromancer, rather than something that can be set and forgotten. This suggests that Blizzard is working on balancing the Necromancer class to ensure a fair and enjoyable gameplay experience for all players in Diablo 4. According to the information provided in Blizzard's blog post, it appears that the Sorcerer class in Diablo 4 is receiving a mix of buffs and nerfs. Chain Lightning, a sorcerer ability, will reportedly deal less damage and have reduced effectiveness against boss characters, indicating a nerf to its power. However, the class is also receiving buffs to abilities such as Charged Bolt, which may see an increase in effectiveness, and an increased lucky hit chance for Meteor Skill's enchantment bonus, which suggests a positive adjustment to the class. It seems that Blizzard is attempting to balance the Sorcerer class by tweaking the power level of different abilities to ensure a more balanced gameplay experience in Diablo 4. Yes, it appears that Blizzard is reworking the Butcher enemy in Diablo 4 based on feedback from the beta. The blog post states that the team has re-evaluated the enemy for difficulty, and it will present a greater challenge in World Tiers 3 and 4. This suggests that the Butcher may become easier to defeat on lower difficulty levels, but harder to defeat on higher difficulty levels. This could be a part of Blizzard's ongoing effort to fine-tune the balance of the game and provide a challenging experience for players at different skill levels. Apart from adjustments to balance, Blizzard is also making changes to the dungeon layouts in Diablo 4 to minimize the need for backtracking, which was a common issue reported during the beta testing. The full list of patch notes detailing these changes is available for those who are interested. Based on player feedback, Blizzard has addressed the issue of backtracking in certain dungeons in Diablo 4. The team has optimized multiple dungeons across all zones, including the Fractured Peaks zone, to minimize the need for backtracking. Specifically, the following dungeons in the Fractured Peaks zone have received layout updates: Caldera Gate, Defiled Catacombs, Derelict Lodge, Forbidden City, Hoarfrost Demise, Immortal Emanation, Core Dragon Barracks, Mallwood. Developers note, our focus with the layout changes was to address player feedback regarding backtracking that could detract from the overall experience. As an example, in some dungeons, players previously had to enter side rooms to interact with structure objectives, resulting in repetitive paths. To improve this, many of the structure objectives have been repositioned along the main dungeon pathways, making them more accessible and allowing players to explore the dungeon more freely after defeating the structure. Dungeon events. The chance for an event to spawn inside a dungeon has increased from 10% to 60%. When Animus is gathered, the player and nearby allies will gain 10 resource, reduce all active cooldowns by 1 second, and the channel time for depositing Animus has been reduced from 3 to 0 seconds. The time to rescue has been reduced from 3 to 1.5 seconds, and all rescue objectives now drop a health potion upon completion. While carrying the Ancient Statue Bloodstone Mechanical Box, or Stone Carving, players will receive a momentum bonus, granting a 25% move speed increase to them and nearby allies. Pedestals in dungeons have had their channel time reduced from 2 to 0 seconds, and returning a portable object to its pedestal now fully restores health, resource, potions, and resets cooldowns for all nearby players. All doors in dungeons will now generate a minimap ping when they are opened. All structure objectives in dungeons now have additional combat mechanics that players must overcome. Developers note, based on player feedback, the action of completing objectives in dungeons felt tedious. To address this, bonuses such as increased mobility while carrying certain objective items have been added to streamline and vary the experience. This is just the beginning, as the team plans to extend this philosophy to keys in a future update. General, effects like stun and freeze can now be applied to elite monsters twice as long before they become unstoppable. Class skills have been reviewed to ensure that all classes have access to sufficient skills that remove control impairing effects. Many legendary powers have been updated to be more effective. Barbarian. A flat 10% passive damage reduction has been added for the Barbarian class, but some skill tree passives had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. The Whirlwind skill now deals more damage and consumes more fury. The Double Swing skill enhancement refunds its full fury cost when used on stunned or knocked down enemies. Druid. Companion skills will now deal heavily increased damage. All ultimate skills have had their cooldowns reduced. Usability improvements have been made to maul and pulverize. Using a non-shapeshifting skill will transform a druid back into their human form. Necromancer. Summoned minions will now die more often, requiring players to utilize corpses more often. Many bonuses in the Book of the Dead have had their stats increased. The damage dealt by the corpse explosion skill has been reduced. The brightness of the skeletal warriors and mages has been reduced. Rogue. Upgrades for subterfuge skills have had their bonuses increased. Multiple passive skills have had their bonuses increased. All imbuement skills have had their cooldowns increased. Sorcerer. Charged bolts damage has been increased, and the mana cost to cast has decreased. The damage of chain lightning has been decreased, and its effectiveness against bosses has been reduced. The cooldown for the Incinerate skill's enchantment bonus has been decreased. Firewalls will now spawn underneath enemies more frequently when using its enchantment bonus. The lucky hit chance for the Meteor skill's enchantment bonus has been increased. Developers note, class balance is an ongoing process, and feedback from players has helped us make changes to ensure that classes and their skills feel impactful and powerful. Some skills were identified as being too powerful, and we have made adjustments to improve gameplay feel and itemization. For example, the Necromancer's minions will now be more vulnerable in combat, making Raising the Dead a more active component of gameplay. This is just the first step in our class balance journey, and players can expect further updates to iterate on this pillar of Diablo 4. These are some of the changes and improvements that have been made to the user interface, encounters, and general quality of life in Diablo 4. Fixed issues with the built-in screen reader not reading key prompts, game options details, and other UI text. Fixed issues with actions not being able to be bound to the mouse wheel and right analog stick on controller. Chat will now display on the left side of the screen when using the centered action bar configuration. Character stats will be displayed by default when clicking the Materials and Stats button within the inventory. Move and Interact inputs can now be mapped to one button, while the primary attack input is mapped to a secondary button. Replace the sans serif font used in-game with a new serif font. Encounters. Fixed multiple issues that allowed bosses like the Butcher to become unresponsive. The Butcher has been re-evaluated for difficulty and will present a greater challenge in World Tiers 3 and 4. Bosses such as Dechort, Malnock, Venard, and others were re-evaluated for melee character difficulty, resulting in changes to attacks and fight mechanics. Fixed an issue where vampire brutes using the Shadow Enchant affix would chain cast Impale. Cellars. Increase the chance for a dungeon event to occur in cellars. Cellars will now consistently reward a chest upon completion. Fixed an issue where cellars would prematurely be marked as complete. Fixed an issue where the guaranteed elite monster would be absent from a cellar. General quality of game. Fixed an issue where players could increase attack speed by move canceling attacks early. Fixed an issue where characters weren't immune and untargetable after loading into an area. The Reset Dungeon button has been disabled. Fixed an issue that caused Gale Valley and Serac Rapture to have fewer monsters than intended until the campaign quests in those territories were completed. These changes are aimed at improving the overall gameplay experience, addressing bugs and issues, and balancing encounters and dungeons for a more challenging and engaging gameplay in Diablo 4. This is the end of the video, but will be a few more videos on Diablo, and do not miss, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Bye.